Hey there, Elisa, the Half Asian Tarot Queen, and I'm back to do another reading. So this is a reading for the 28th of October, which is actually the second. It's part of the Scorpio new moon transit. So it's pretty exciting because this is a period of renewal, generally, and for sure, the energies that were coming out in the readings last week were all about kind of old structures getting blown up and falling tower moments and truths being told and just like a lot of drama, which really seems like it's kind of setting the stage for a renewal period, so that's pretty exciting. So yeah, just overall, Psycho, hi, she's a pretty kitty. Yeah, so I will say that, in my own life, I think there are a couple situations that kind of have a similar theme where it's just sort of like, I kind of had this aggressor who was kind of trying to take, this is manifesting in a couple different situations, but kind of take something from me, and then when I kind of stood up for myself, then it became like more of a thing of like them being victimized, and so I think like the light's kind of being shown on both of these situations where it's like, you know what, like maybe maybe it wasn't, maybe it wasn't as was being said, I just kind of focused on myself and stayed quiet in the background while, there was all this stink raised, for like a situation that was maybe not, it was kind of false, and so that's kind of being outed. So, that's just one example. But just some overall energies that are coming out on this reading so far. We've got the Three of Pentacles, the Strength card, and the Four of Swords. So it's interesting because this really kind of like goes along with what I was just saying. The Three of Pentacles is kind of building a solid foundation, and the Strength, is just kind of like overcoming obstacles, through your own strength. And then this is kind of a card of contemplation. So it's just sort of like, by kind of like disengaging from the drama, focusing on yourself, and then just like building a solid foundation, just like on your own, on your own laurels, and just like not really giving a lot of energy to these dramatic situations. You've kind of started to create a foundation for yourself, and then, this period of renewal comes, and then things start getting restructured, and it's like you've kind of got a foundation to build on, and so that's a good place to be when these moments happen. Queen of Pentacles. So this is a woman who's, kind of like got her stuff together. She's like a nurturing businesswoman type of person. And this is interesting too because, I really identify with this energy a lot because I'm a Virgo and I'm a businesswoman. And, one of the situations that I was kind of referring to is, there was like, well, I can't say too much specific about it, but I had a vegan cheese company that was doing really well, and, now is involved in a lawsuit, and yeah, it kind of goes along with the energies that I was discussing earlier, but can't really expound on too specifically. So it's interesting stuff. Interesting stuff going around the cosmos. So, okay, so now I'm pulling out another deck. So this is the Serpentine Tarot, which I got from my buddy Angie. She's also my bandmate in my new band that I started called The White Pubes, which is kind of like it's like a punk rock band for old people. And it's been a lot of fun. And I actually just came from metaphysical store here in town. I'm living in Minneapolis, and I love this store. It's called The Future, and they have all kinds of tarot decks, and I've noticed that there's like a newer edition of this deck, which this is a Serpentine Tarot, and there's one called Serpent Fire, and it looks like it's sort of like the next evolution of this deck, and I just saw it today, so that's exciting. But I love this deck. Like, I love how it shuffles. I'm a Virgo, so I get obsessive about how stuff shuffles. And yeah, this deck is great for that. And it has the, like, you know, the gold edges, and it's fancy. But yeah, thanks to Angie for giving me this deck. So, okay, so we've got some overall energies for this reading, and yeah, interesting. So we've got the Queen of Wands, the Six of Pentacles, and the Page of Pentacles. So this is interesting, you know, because the Queen of Wands, you know, this is like a really passionate woman. She's like a queen. She's like, you know, fire sign, so you know that would typically be like Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, but doesn't have to be a fire sign, you know, just kind of embodying that energy. But really passionate, you know, really sought after queen. And then we have the Page of Pentacles over here, which is kind of like a brand new beginning, but just, you know, just kind of starting out. And you know, but it's a pentacle, you know, so earth sign, Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo, but, you know, grounded. You know, earth signs tend to be pretty grounded in reality. You know, they're very methodical. You know, it's less driven by passion and more driven by kind of like pragmatism. And then in between that, we have the Six of Pentacles, which this is typically a card of like giving and receiving, and that like coming into balance. So that's interesting, because on one side we have this queen, this super passionate queen, and then on the other side we have this page, which is kind of like more of like a student, you know, like, or just starting out. Like, it's just not as large and in charge, but just sort of like, you know, this energy is just getting off the ground. So it's kind of like there's like a balance that's starting to be achieved between this, you know, large and in charge, like super passionate energy, and this like totally grounded, stable, you know, like pragmatic, but, you know, just kind of getting off the ground kind of energy. So like maybe we're starting to find a balance between those things. Like, you know, like maybe this passion is being, you know, a little bit more grounded, and like maybe this grounded sort of timid energy is sort of like maybe, you know, suspending their disbelief a little bit, and like maybe engaging like the passion, and not being so reserved, you know. So so yeah, we have that exchange going on. And then on the bottom row we have the Emperor, the Lovers, and the Hermit. So this is typically a Virgo card, but also just someone who's just kind of, you know, having a sort of spiritual moment where you're sort of looking into yourself, and not so much engaging the outside world, but kind of like looking at your own self and kind of trying to work on your own self while you're kind of in between cycles, and you're evaluating like how you're going to re-engage the world, you know. And then this Emperor is kind of like a boss, you know, and it's typically a male energy, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a male or a female energy, but just as kind of like a boss, you know, like this person's, you know, calling the shots, you know. And then we have in between the Lovers, you know. So this can be like a love relationship, or it can be like balancing sort of like masculine and feminine energies in between, you know, in one person. So it's interesting because on both of these rows we have these sort of like opposite energies, where there's this boss who's like large and in charge and like telling people what's up, you know, same as like the Queen of Wands. And then on the other side, we've got this more reserved, like keep to yourself, like pragmatic, kind of like not really, not too flashy, you know, just kind of doing your own thing. And then in the middle, we have this sort of balancing card where the energies are kind of like coming into balance. So it's almost like these kind of like opposing energies are like coming into balance, you know, and it's like different cards, but like they're both kind of saying the same thing. And it's weird because, you know, these cards are analogous, these cards are analogous, these cards are analogous, you know, and it just laid out that way. So it's like a double message, you know, where we have these like opposing forces that haven't really figured out how to play nice, and like they're coming into balance, you know. So maybe this is part of the healing, that's the renewal that's coming from the Scorpio new moon, is that, you know, for a long time there's been this conflict because there's been these opposing energies that haven't really figured out how to play nice with each other, and all of a sudden there's like a path that's kind of emerging where like they're kind of figuring out how like they might be able to work together, you know. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, I'm gonna pull 3 more cards just to get some guidance about like, you know, how we might navigate this. And let's see, I'm going back to this Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot for this last part. Oops. All right, I'm gonna take one more. It's too many, so. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so at the end we have, and this came out a lot last week, the 5 of Cups. You know, so this is a card of disappointment and loss. And, you know, you can see there's like 3 cups that are spilled here. But then on the other side, like this person is really focused on the loss and what's been lost here. But like right behind him, there's a 2 of Cups, you know, which the 2 of Cups is, you know, a card of balance and love and abundance and like, you know, your soulmate, you know, and that's right behind this person, but they're not seeing it because they're really focused on this loss, you know. So this card is about just remembering to like focus on the positive and not focus on the loss, you know, because you can get stuck there, you know. And then we have this card, the 7 of Cups, which, you know, this person is looking at all these cups and there's all these options before them, and they're like really hung up on like, you know, they're kind of confused because they're not really sure where to go, you know. They're like focused on this loss, they're confused, they're like spinning around in circles. And so the advice here is the Ace of Swords, which this is a card of truth and clarity. So, you know, it looks like we're coming into a period of truth and clarity so that we can like stop focusing on like all the negative and what we've lost and what's not working, because, you know, when you focus on that, like you just kind of get stuck running in circles and it doesn't really go anywhere, right? So like we've got to just kind of like accept things as they are so that we can move forward. Okay, so I'm gonna pull one more card from the Sacred Oracle just to give some advice. Okay, so this is the advice for finding your truth, navigating the stars, follow your bliss. So like when in doubt, listen to your heart, you know, because that's the ultimate guidance, right? Follow your bliss and you can't go wrong. So that's the advice for today for the Scorpio new moon fallout. And good luck with that, and we'll talk to you soon.